Tory is just not very good at his job. I know. I've been trying to scoop up.
Jennifer Keesmaat with some terse words for John Tory in the first major rally of her run at the mayor's seat. The former city planner seriously questioning the current mayor's leadership skills. And she joins us live now this morning to chat a little bit more about that and what she would like to see in the city. Jennifer, thank you very much for joining us today.
It's great to be here.
You guys have not, you haven't pulled any punches. Both sides have been some strong words from the mayor as well, from John Tory. Is this going to be a rough and tumble campaign?
Well, it's going to be a campaign about a choice, and I think part of what you do in a campaign is you put that choice before the voters, and the voters decide. So I'm coming forward with an approach that is about being bold, it's about being visionary, it's about getting things done. Hey, I've been hearing on the streets, things really aren't getting better. When we look at transit, we look at housing affordability, we look at public safety. We've really been spinning our wheels on all of those files, writing long reports. Torontonians want better. And I get why John Tory was elected after a really chaotic period, and he brought stability. But now we need leadership. Now we need change. Now we need to get things done. On all of these files, we need to be doing more, and people are, rallying around that recognition.
What do you bring that would make it different then? How do you change things? We've stagnated on transit essentially for 8 years. Nothing has changed. What could you do that would change that?
Well, first off, I'm not about political slogans. I'm not a lifetime politician, a career politician. In fact, I've been in politics now for 4 weeks. You and I were just talking about this, like the learning curve has been steep. I'm not coming forward with slogans that are about trying to get me elected. I want to sell Torontonians on the importance of a vision-driven approach where we provide excellent transit and more choice for every single corner of this city. John Tory brought forward Smart Track. It was supposed to be 12 stations. It's been whittled down to 6, maybe 4. It was supposed to be 53 kilometers of new track. No new track. There was supposed to be an alternative financing mechanism. Instead, a $1.4 billion price tag for taxpayers. So here we had a promise. It was a slogan. It was supposed to help. That kind of approach doesn't work. That's not what I'm about. I'm not bringing forward slogans. I'm bringing forward real solutions that can be implemented.
Now, would you prefer a smaller council or a larger council? With what's happening, it's still a toss-up on what we may see. What would you rather work with if you were elected?
Well, it's still a toss-up, and I go back to the principle, which is that Torontonians want good democracy. They want to be able to access their city government. This is what's so special about local government, is that people can bring their passion and their energy and their ideas to their local councillor. They can get stuff done. And I think there's a risk of having a massive bureaucracy and not much political representation. But at the end of the day, the province is making this decision, and we are going to implement what has been decided by the province. But there's things we can do, and this is where leadership becomes so important. There's things that we can do in order to strengthen how Torontonians can participate in the decision-making that's happening on their local street and in their local neighborhoods.
And what could you do? I mean, you've said the mayor was somewhat ineffectual when it came to how the province has handled the reduction. What would you have done differently? How would you have handled it?
Well, first off the bat, you make it really clear that you're standing up for Toronto, standing up for the interests of this city, and putting a stake in the ground is often a very important thing to do. I did this as chief planner when we were working on projects like the Eglinton Crosstown, and the province wanted to reduce the number of stations, and we showed up and said, no way, hold on a minute. These are the implications. People who now have good transit access will no longer have transit access because there won't be a stop in their neighborhood. We went to the table immediately. We spoke forcefully with a strong reason for why this wasn't in the interests of Toronto. The goal at that point of Metrolinx was to move the trains really quickly. Well, if you live in Toronto, you don't care if there's a fast train going through your neighborhood, but you can't get on it. Yeah. So we went to the province and we got every one of those stations restored. And that was about the interests of Torontonians having access to transit. So that's the kind of thing you do. That's what I did in the past as chief planner.
Jennifer, thank you very much for joining us today. We appreciate it.
Great to be here.
Let's head back upstairs now to Mel.